right away.
All right. Well, I'm already starting. I'm live.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, don't start the show officially.
Okay.
Right.
You got to. You do go do what you got to do.
Okay.
I'm gonna minimize my stuff. Hello, everybody. Hello, Michael. Hello, guys. I have to turn down the volume on my phones and stuff.
Okay, I will talk to you afterwards.
All right, guys, 1 second. Hey, Michael. Okay, I'll just turn down the volume here. You can't hear my AC, can you? You have. All right. Ah, my goodness. How goes it, Michael? How you be? Hello, Pamela. Let's just situate things. It's so nice seeing you guys on. Yeah, it's hot and humid. Yeah, I got my AC working. Yep. It's nice. It's nice in the cave. Well, it's been pretty crazy. It was a crazy start this morning. I ended up, I thought my schedule was going to be a lighter schedule this morning, but then it turned out to be a heavy-duty, crazy schedule. So it was kind of like kooky. So it went from a light schedule to my usual schedule, which was insane. So it kind of was like that with work. So, yeah. So always a pleasure to see you guys here. I super mega appreciate you guys popping in and spending time with me here, of course. It means a lot to me. And not from a branding, you know, I want all kinds of numbers and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm talking about I truly, from deep in my heart, appreciate you guys spending time with me. What's the topic of the day? Well, the topic today is going to be a shamanic topic. So I think you're going to like it. I think Michael will like it too, I think. I know Ariel likes it. She tends to like that kind of the topic for today for biased yet unbiased reasons. I don't know. And of course, I want to say prior to, yeah, BS. Yes. So we are going to be talking about bear medicine today. Now, seeing that I have a bear claw around my neck and that I live with a bear totem pretty much all the time, it makes lots of sense that bear is I'd have to say is probably my strongest totem. Pretty much. And of course, there's a lot of new changes coming down the pike. We are in the process of changing up things where don't be surprised if all of a sudden higher quality video and things like that come up. Prior to formally starting the show, I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of a scoop. First of all, to me, what the conversation is and what we share, what the topic is, to me is more important than the quality of the, granted, I want it to look right, and I want you all to be able to see me well and the lighting to be great and all that stuff. However, it's no different than making a substandard sandwich. I think it's incredibly important to content is king. So, I'm really looking at and yes, all that silenced already. So, but the main important thing that I'm looking at is this. It's important for the brand, if you will. Okay. And I had popped onto a couple of broadcasts today that were talking about branding and all that good stuff. And I think branding is important. So I'm going to say that branding is important. Being consistent with your representation of who you are is important. Absolutely. But to me, there's also a sense of connection. To me, connection is really important. So if we're going to say content is important, connection to me is even more important. Interaction and connection is even more important. So one thing you won't be seeing is a bunch of artificial stuff. At least not to my liking anyway. So I don't want to homogenize, pasteurize, water down, dilute who I am or what the show's about for the sake of branding. So basically, I'm the brand, right? Me. So what I do, what the team does, what Insight with Moonshadow does is the brand. But if I don't feel comfortable with it, then it's not going to be a good brand. Exactly. So engagement. And then from way back in the beginning, in the platform with Blab and all that, way back when, they spoke about authenticity and this and that. So all that. I'm not going to be talking about marketing jargon with you guys. Not in the same way. I'm always going to take a human stance from my view. My view will always be from the soul standpoint of things. Not really so much the business standpoint. Anybody can learn about business. But humanity and business, the hybrid, the gray area between the two, I think is important. So I learned a lot from that broadcast. But I will say this too, that as important as branding and quality of video and all that stuff is important, it's also important the substance of your content. I think that's really, really important too. And if you're passionate about it, and if you're engaging and interacting because you want to, and a lot of you have spoken to me on the phone or online or even in person, and I'm the same person. So the transparency is there too. So that's important. Yes, Anna. And Anna was there at that broadcast too. So a big part of it, so content to me is like super important. Engagement super important. Interaction is super important. And the fact of here, this is why I'm doing it here. Here. My soul and spirit wants to continue doing this. That's the important part of what it is. Yes. Will I end up making buco bucks? Probably. Is that my main concern? Not really. But product, brand, anything like that, it's going to come from a soul level. At least that's my intention. That's always been my intention, and it always will be my intention. Absolutely. So, that being said, you know, I have utilized and I have learned a lot from the aspect of other people that do, the other content providers, other people that broadcasters. I consider myself more of a broadcaster, like back in the old school days of radio, as opposed to a content provider, a content creator. Are they the same thing? Probably, but I'm a little more old school. So it's one of those things. And also, too, we are still taking suggestions on what we could call what we can call the viewership. All you guys that come on to Team Inside with Moonshadow. So we're still looking at that as well. Yep. So I'm looking at. I come from the FM version, FM radio side, but going back from way back when I was in radio, back then I'm just really adding the video component to what radio used to be. And recently, I was listening to the radio, not listening to one of my mega CDs that I've made, or my MP3 player. I was actually listening to radio, and I was very reminiscent of the old, of how things used to be with radio. Yeah, Moonies is a religious sect, so that's kind of sketchy. But I was thinking, if any suggestions, please leave them in the chat. I'm going to look at them all, and then we'll do we'll brainstorm or figure out some kind of interesting way of doing it. Maybe throwing in a hat, plenty of hats. Put all the names in a hat, maybe see which ones stick, and go from there. So yes, crunchies, the earthy crunchies. Well, it's going to have something with a Luna-esque, Moon-esque, Lunar-esque, Light-esque, Earth Crunchy-esque. It's got to be something to do with along those lines, with something catchy. So you can participate in this part of Inside Moonshadow. So yes. So I appreciate it. So something could be celestial based, could be earth based, it could be, you know, anything like that. I will leave it up to you guys to think of something. I will also be thinking, of course, just because, you know, that's what I do. And then we will go from there. Also, too, some upcoming stuff. Now, I know I have not put up the video for the last Insight with Moonshadow Journeys, the West Coast edition, but it looks like there is a pretty good chance, if not really, really, really good chance, fingers crossed, that I'll be going out west again. So we learn from our challenges. There were a lot of things that I learned on what I could have done, should have done. I call it the woulda, shoulda, couldas. Now I don't think I've coined it, but I call it the woulda, shoulda, couldas. So I think maybe I could have made it up because it's just bizarre, you know, bizarre enough to, you know. But the woulda, shoulda, couldas is this. Yes. Yes. So road trip 2.0. Yes. So will that mean meetup? It may mean meetups. Who knows? We'll see. There may be some meetups in the works. And of course, my trusty producer Ariel is saying, it is happening. Epic Trip 2.0. Yes. So I've learned a lot from my experience with the first trip over to the West Coast. So there will be a lot more footage, a lot more. There will be some live streaming. There will be some filming there, and I'm just going to be doing it much differently. I've learned because I'm finding it really difficult to put together the show previously, and also too, part of this scenario is this. I have a small trusty crew. Small, it's only, you know. However, one is a full-time, one is a part-time, and could I pop to the East Coast to visit a friend? Western New York isn't too far, I hope. Well, okay, well that is something that may be potentially possible. I don't know about the West and then going way to the East, but it is always a possibility because I know you're not far. Well, you know what? You do a lot. So I will say, that's why I say full time, like top notch, brainstorming, everything. Everything is right there. And I can have to say, I am incredibly grateful for the crew under the hood of Inside Moonshadow, because you know what? And I will say this, and I haven't started the show formally yet, and I will, but I'm very grateful that between, you know, Dawn Marie, and which she still is very present in the inner workings of Inside Moonshadow, which I give lots of love, you know, lots of love, and I give the heart, poof, 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 and Ariel, poof, 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 because you know they really have helped out in the inner workings of. Now I have to give big kudos out to all of you. Pamela's here a lot of the time. We have Michael here every single show. I don't think Michael has missed a show. I don't think Michael has missed a show yet. And this is our 79th show. And Michael has been here. He shares, he tweets, he does all of that. So I appreciate that. Anna's also been there a lot in the beginning. Now, of course, you know, Anna's very, very busy with other things, but I can't take away from the support and the love and the appreciation, the affection that Anna has done as well. Yes, Michael is definitely there, and I appreciate it. So a lot of what I do and continue to do, and I will be honest, and this is I'm doing my best not to get all choked up. Oh wow, Anna, really? Well, you'll have to tell me about that. You'll have to fill me in about that because that's new. Chrissy Dane, oh my goodness, I haven't seen you in forever. And of course, Chrissy's been there from the beginning. And also too, I have to say too that a lot of you from around the world have made this show international and have put it out there. I can also say Chrissy is single-handedly has actually pimped me out to people she knew, family members, and even her own hubby. She even made her own hubby become a subby of mine, and he's a busy guy. Right? Welcome back, Pamela. So, so I have to get, you know, honestly, there are times, and I'm trying not to get emotional about this because it really means a lot to me. It really touches my heart. Yeah, the hubby subby. I really appreciate you guys being here because your support in coming here every week. There are weeks that I just don't have the energy, especially now since I've got some new health challenges that have come up, and not a lot of you know about it, but there's some new health challenges that have come up that are really throwing me. So that's also part of the works as well. But the thing is, overall, it's all of you that keep me coming back here. You know what I mean? It's all of you that keep me coming back. So, hey, Chrissy. So really, that's what it's all about. There are days that I just don't have the energy. There are times that you have to think about, looking from this other broadcast. It's not the business end of this. This is my heart and soul and my own inner work that I'm sharing and being vulnerable about a lot of the time on the screen. So this is more than just business, more than just branding, more than just this and that. There are people in this broadcast that actually have had me provide services for them, and they know what I do, and all of that comes from my heart and soul and my passion and my life purpose as well. So it's more than just the almighty 6-inch little dollar thing that we use to pay bills. It's really within my heart and soul and spirit that I do what I do, and I enjoy what I do. So that aside, so I can that aside, this is one of the main reasons why I consistently do that. And there's like maybe 2% that I'm just really committed. And when I say I'm going to do something, I flip and do it. I don't quit. I don't believe in quitting unless I absolutely have no choice. But yes, so Christy, we're gonna have to catch up and well, yes, exactly, Anna, and this is part of it too. Is I have done this for nothing. That's probably why I'm not, on some big, huge, on some kind of, on television, because I've done that. I would do this for nothing. Making a little money would be nice. I'm not gonna lie, but ultimately, what I do because it's within my heart to do, and I love doing it. So that's super, mega, incredibly important for me. So now, okay, so that be put aside, just to let you know, for Chrissy's sake, well, that we may be able to do on a peer dining or something, if you guys want to. Let me know. But yeah, so new things coming up, trip coming up, West Coast Edition 2.0. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be better and different. So it's got to be interesting. So that's going to be actually pretty cool. So that is probably going to be happening sooner than not. I have to put all my ducks in a row before I go ahead and do that. But it's more than likely going to happen. Meaning, a good 98, 99%, unless something really dodgy happens. And we don't want anything dodgy to happen, We're all set with dodgy things. So yes. And honestly, Anna, makeup is only like whipped cream on a cake. If you got lousy cake, it's going to taste like crap. All the whipped cream in the world isn't going to do a damn thing. But if you have awesome cake, it could be not the most appealable cake, but it's delicious. So it's all about the inside. It's all about how it works on the inside, how tasty, yummy it is. That's the way I look at it. And I've seen some of the most attractive people. I've seen some of the most attractive people, and I wouldn't want to spend 1 minute with them. And I don't mean that in a judging way. It's just they're maybe not as deep. So that's the way I look at it. Yes. Okay. So with that said, so a lot of new, so higher quality type stuff coming up, trip coming up. I think I filled you guys in. New stuff going down. Stay tuned to Insight with Moonshadow because there's going to be some new stuff coming up. Yes, I'm glad I gave up eye makeup a long time ago. However, I have gone on some makeup broadcasts recently, and it was kind of comical because I actually knew stuff. Very interesting when a guy knows stuff about makeup. And I'm not of the feminine persuasion. I like women. So that's very interesting. Anyway. And this is going to be up on YouTube. So unedited until... so this is going to be funny. Yeah. That was my old goth punk phase way back in the day. Yes, I wore eyeliner. The crazy long hair. Yeah, even the spandex, leopard skin jeans. I'll just leave that. I'll just leave it that with you all. So the glam rock was happening, except I had facial hair and long hair and all that good stuff. But anyway, I digress. So we're going to start the show. Let's say another 4 minutes. So we started off at a good spot. So we'll start it off at 4:40. And just as since we have 3 minutes, I remember old radio. Any pictures? You know what? I can probably find pictures. I'll see if I can locate some. I know there's a picture somewhere with me in long hair playing guitar. One of my headers, actually. No. You cannot make me blush. I'm not going to let you. No. But so going back into radio days, I remember that it was just really, really good time. And back then, it was, very much. And in fact, I reacquainted myself with a lot of my old DJ buddies from the old radio station, from 88.3. So to anyone out over an 88.3, props and loves to you because you guys were awesome. But it was very, very cool. No, we don't. So, all right, 2 more minutes. But I do miss all old radio and DJing. I miss DJing like I used to in the clubs and things like that because that was really, really fun. That was a good time. So yes, just to fill you in, today, it's all about bear medicine, about bears and bear medicine. So it's going to be quite an interesting time. And if anyone knows about bears, now this here, I adopted from Blake Shelton from The Voice, by the way, because this is very cool. I think Blake Shelton is way cool. He's probably one of the coolest people on The Voice. Even cooler than Adam Levine. Just because he's like cool in a down-hole country kind of way. So I like that. All right, one more minute and we'll get this formally started. I appreciate you guys being here. And lots of love and good stuff to you guys. You guys are awesome. And thank you for being here. And we're going to talk about the bears. I have the full Winnie the Pooh box book set. Awesome. He has a full bearskin rug. Oh, cool. Yeah, and sweets, that's also a thing too. All right, 4:40, and now it's time to start Insight with Moonshadow. Thank you very much for coming on by, people. That's a little Mr. Radio voice, but okay, let's start this puppy. Welcome to Insight with Moonshadow. I am Moonshadow, an integrative holistic therapist, intuitive shaman, interfaith minister, and CHI-vangelist with over 30 years of experience in the healing field internationally. And my intention here on Insight with Moonshadow is to guide and empower you so you can empower others in your community as well as the world. So ultimately, this is really about you being the best you could be. So now that is totally the importance here of the show. It's really not about me being in front of the camera. And coming up soon, we will have other things that will be coming up, special guests, some new improvements where it's going to be some even more controversial topics here on Insight with the Moonshadow. So things that you do normally talk about or ask about, we are going to talk about. So that's for sure. So today's topic is all about the true essence and medicine of bear. We can learn a lot about bear right now. The way the world is today, we can learn a lot about bear. So with bear, we're going to go into first of all, we're going to go into the aspects of bear that is what we know of bear, what we see in National Geographic, what we see, what I learned about bear in Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom when I used to watch that with my dad. May he rest in peace. That was one of the things my father and I used to love to do, was watch these shows. And this is probably one of the starting points or one of the more memorable moments of my childhood. Because at that time, that really brought, I didn't realize this until later, until I got older. But this is what started bringing shamanism into my life prior to near-death experience, prior to the death and rebirth of who I was to who I am. And in shamanism, there is some form of traumatic event that alters you and puts you in a situation. It changes you, never for you to ever go back again. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about bears, about the bears that we know. Now, first of all, bears have two layers of fur. Okay, so they have the short and they have a longer fur, a longer layer. Now, this is always keeps them from being isolated and insulated, and it also keeps water away so they're not cold. So there's many reasons why they have such thick fur. So if you've seen a bear wet, he looks a lot thinner with his fur and underfur matted down and wet. So they look like they went through some serious weight loss. Now, also too, bears have been known to be incredibly intelligent and have been known to roll rocks into bear traps, to set off the trap and eat the bait safely. So again, one of the things with bears that they are incredibly adaptable. Now, bears actually have a lifespan of about 30 years in the wild. Now, I believe there was one captive bear that was raised till 47, so the ripe old age of 47. So now, and interestingly enough, we have bears being bow-legged as well. Now, this gives them more grip and balance. Now, interesting as well, another little fun fact about bears is that you may think bears aren't fast because they're big and roly-poly. Well, guess what? And this is no joke. Bears can run up to 40 miles per hour. Fast enough to catch a running horse. And the fastest known human alive today is, I think his name is Usain Bolt, who can run 27 miles per hour. Now, cheetahs, they're the fastest animal. However, cheetahs only can sprint. They don't have the same endurance. Bears can run over long distances with endurance. Now, also, too, bear is an omnivore. Now, very much like the owner or the keeper of bear medicine that's speaking in front of you now. Omnivore will take advantage or whatever is available. So if it's pasta and vegetables, it's pasta and vegetables. If it's meat, it's meat. So they will take advantage of whatever food source they have, and this is why they've been so resilient and so self-sufficient all this time. Now, there is only one bear that's truly a true carnivore, and that is the polar bear. That's the only bear that's truly a carnivore. All other bears are omnivores, and they will eat plants and meat and nuts and berries and all of that. Now, this here, the bear that I have here across my around my chest is a black bear, and it was an adolescent. Now, the interesting about the adolescent bear is that this bear claw isn't very big. However, they can get pretty large, and they could take off the root, bark off trees without even damaging or hurting them whatsoever. So I wouldn't want to get a bitch slap from a bear. Bears can also, basically, if they were enraged, they could probably slap your head off your shoulders with the power of their muscles and their strength. Something to think about. Do not piss off a bear. This is where the phrase comes, don't poke the bear. Anyway. Now, sun bears happen to have the longest claws of any bear. And they've got long tongues too, which can reach almost like 10 inches, but that's talk for another day. But those are sun bears. Now these are all fun facts with bears, but we're going to get into the more sacred medicine of the bear shortly. But these are little fun facts that we all need to know, because in shamanism, you do not have the totem or the spirit animal of one bear. I carry the totem of all bear. All bear. That means the bear that used to be, the bear that is here today, and the bear that always will be. The whole species of bear. So it's the might, the strength, the energy, the soul, the spirit, everything of bear. That's why they say bear straight up. So yeah, you should never poke the bear. For sure. Now, interestingly enough as well, polar bears that are swimming can jump 8 feet out of the water to surprise a seal. And they will hunt down seals easily. And also, polar bears can swim up to 100 miles without resting. Again, don't poke a polar bear either. Apparently, he will find you. And if you think you're going to swim faster than him, he will catch you. So here's some of the, those are some of the aspects of bear. Also, too, we've got multiple species of bear across the United States. So that's also another part of it. Now, there are people that have had bears as pets. Now, I am not going to say that it would be advisable to have a wild animal as a pet unless you are fully, really responsible, because they're wild animals for a reason. So this is something to think about. Really, truly research if you're going to go into that kind of thing. I remember having someone that got a little cute little pot-bellied bear, a little pot-bellied pig, right? They thought, oh, how cute. They're going to stay this little. It's fantastic. Well, this little pot-bellied pig turned into a ginormous pig, and they couldn't live with this pig. And this pig had to be rehomed to a farm because the pig was so huge. So now Michael is coming up with a fact here too. He's saying Kodiak bears are only found in one place. Oh, look at that. Yes. So, but see, this is the thing about wild animals. No different than our own selves. We all have a side that we show people, and a side that we don't. Our shadow self, and it's being brought up in the chat now about shadow self. However, there's good and bad with every animal, and there's characteristics to every animal. Characteristics about everyone. Now, taking a quick look, now there are like many different species of bear. You've got the Kodiak, the grizzly, the brown bear. You've got the moon bear, which not a lot of people know about the moon bear, but it's an animal that has almost become extinct. And if you look at my website, phoenixrisinghealingarts.com, there in the Be a Social Activist section, there is Save the Moon Bear. And there are also bears. Now, interestingly enough, a koala bear isn't a bear at all. A koala bear is actually marsupial. They just have the bear name. Now, also an interesting moon fact or moon site on this is, did you know that raccoons are actually distant cousins of bear? I bet you didn't know that. So if you watch a raccoon walk away, if you watch a raccoon walk and you watch a bear walk, the walk or the waddle is very similar. So if you think about it, looking at what you think may be a bear is not a bear, and what you think isn't a bear could be a bear. But also, within shamanism, different tribes actually thought that bears would come into the tribe and they would mate with the maidens or the women of the tribe, and they would have children. And they would basically connect, and they'd be hybrid spirit bear, children, human hybrids. Now, is that possible? Is that real? Well, I'll leave that in the things that make you go department. Now, we've learned a lot of different facts about bears, about the bear or bears. But now, let's look at the shamanic characteristics of bear. Now, first of all, bear is all about introspection and intuition. Now, let's think about introspection and intuition for a second. And it's also about instinct as well. So with introspection, do you know that when I go ahead and mention, yes, and Christy's absolutely right, bears need hugs, not poking. You're absolutely right. At least the human bears, anyway. But with introspection, it's taking a good hard look at yourself to see how you project yourself and what you do. So that is also a big part of it too. And not a lot of people actually think of that. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of other fun facts of bear before we go into the shamanic purpose. But think about intuition for a second here, and introspection intuition. Now, another couple of fun facts is a polar bear's stomach can hold up to 150 pounds of meat. That's one big belly. And bears will eat almost just about anything when they're hungry. So that could mean snowmobile seats, engine oil, and rubber boots. This bear won't. I'm all set with that. Now, also too, the claws of the front claws of a bear are usually longer than the back claws. Why? Because defense. They also usually scratch trees to mark territory. They will do that, and also to sharpen their claws. So bears will also do that. And bears can have claws up to 5 inches in length. Now, bears, they're very connected to yogis in a lot of ways too, because bears actually can bring their normal heartbeats about 40 beats per minute. And a hibernating bear goes down to 8 beats per minute. So just think about that for a second. Talk about deep meditation. Bears can also see almost as good as humans. They can see almost as well as humans. They can hear a little bit better, but they smell. They can smell from miles away. So they can smell 100 times greater than the humans. And a polar bear can track down an odor from 20 miles away. So they can smell a dead seal, give or take, under 3 feet of solid ice. That's pretty hardcore, isn't it? Pleasure. Thank you for coming. It was a pleasure. Now, let's see here. Now we have black bears, we have white bears as well. Now the white bear is called a kermud. It's a ghost bear. Now, in tribal lore, these bears are very rare, and Native Americans believe that these bears have supernatural power. So anyone that had the opportunity to have or to see this white shadow bear or this ghost bear, they were blessed. It was a blessing. So these are all little fun facts of the bear. Now we're gonna touch base a little bit on a couple more things on bear, and then we're gonna move on to the supernatural or the shamanic version of bear. So now the name grizzly bear refers to the silver-tipped or grizzlied hair of a brown bear. So a grizzly bear is really a much larger, much more menacing-looking brown bear. Now, the one I have around my neck right about now is an actual black bear, an adolescent black bear. And you could see how long that is. I would not want to be on the receiving end of this teenage black bear. And of course, you have the male bear, which is a he bear, and then the female is a she bear. So go figure. Let's see here. Now, also, too, interesting fun fact, people don't always know this, but not all bears actually hibernate. There are some that will stay awake throughout the year. Asiatic black bears, American black bears, some brown bear species, and pregnant polar bears do not hibernate. Sloth bears that live in warm places with abundant food also don't need to hibernate. Now, one of the reasons why the bear would hibernate is because there's lack of food. So what they do is they go into a cave and they slow down their heartbeat to the point of 8 beats per minute. And when they do that, if you were that relaxed, that mellow, you don't have to eat. You don't have to drink. Your body isn't working like it should. It doesn't need the fuel that it should. And 5-inch bear nails would take a whole lot of nail polish. It would be. And yes, bear claws are pretty potent. For sure. So now, let's go into the shamanic properties. Now, going back into introspection and intuition and instinct. Now, if you really think about it, bears are one of the few animals that could basically survive in almost any climate. They can make do with everything. This is one of the major reasons why I am honored to have bear as one of my totems. Because in so many different situations, I myself have lived and died over and over again. That's like many lifetimes in one lifetime. And I've actually been clinically dead twice. So, knowing that fact, that was quite interesting coming back then. But with bears, they have this sustainability where they will find a way. And this is one of the reasons why we can really learn about bear and about the spirit of bear and bear medicine, because ultimately in the world today, the way the world is today, when we have to take care of our own, having bear medicine is really important, because this is where you really find your way. You find your way, you find food, you find shelter. So the best thing you could do is really be around someone with bear medicine to be in a war, be in a zombie apocalypse or anything like that, because I'll tell you, they will find a way of sustaining, of making shelter, or finding a way of being able to move on and live on and be resilient. So that's one of the big things about bear medicine that's really, really important. Now, every animal has their own characteristics and their own strengths. All of them do. But with bear, a lot of it is introspection, it's meditation, is looking within, but it's also instinct, it's also intuition, it's also the keeper of one of the keepers of the great mystery in dream time. So a lot of people would meditate on bear to focus and bring in dreams and answers to dreams. So if you see bear in your dreams or in your journeys, take time to really think about bear, because bear may have a very, very important message for you. So now we're going to go into the more shamanic aspects of bear and truly what the spirit of bear is all about. So we're going to get into those facts. Now, interestingly enough, too, we have our own president, Teddy Roosevelt, that turned out. This is where teddy bear came from. It was one of the beginnings of teddy bear. So they look all cuddly. I wouldn't suggest going and hugging a wild bear. It probably wouldn't be a good idea. But you can hug someone with bear medicine, though. They're relatively safe. So there's not a problem with that. You could do that. People with bear medicine tend to be very affectionate, but when they're really deep within thought, they can go really deep down into their own cave to sort out things and resolve things. And if any of you known me for longer than 5 minutes, you'll know that bear medicine is very prevalent. Very much so. Yes, so moon hugs are okay. Absolutely. And they got dancing bears too. So this is another reason why a lot of times the Russians would use bears and train bears, because they were, you know, incredibly intelligent, trainable, and they can do almost anything. But again, be very, very watchful, because trainers, even trainers have died by the hands or maimed by the animals they trained that they loved so much. So again, always remember that a wild animal is a wild animal. They are not your house kitty. So, something to think about before you go out and get a bear or a wolf or a panther or anything else like that. You have to really, really be careful with, you know, with that fact, because yeah, cyber hugs are great too. Yes. Oh, and also too, by the way, I think it was yesterday or was it today? It was National Emoticon Day. So that's like my holiday. I actually communicate with emoticons 99% of the time. Interesting. I believe between music and emoticons, we can basically say everything we need to say. But that's also for people that tend to be lazy typers. Yes. Fun fact. So yeah, so now let's see here. I had a couple of more facts up here that I wanted to share. I'll make sure I grab everything. All right. So now bears symbolize, of course, introspection, intuition with instinct. So now really looking at bear medicine, they are your subconscious, your survival mechanisms. All of those make you get to where you need to go. So anyone with bear medicine, they tend to be healers. They tend to be people that are more towards teachers, healers, people that want to gravitate towards people and packs and things like that. Very similar to the wolf. Now, also too, people with bear medicine tend to be also very, very powerful, and they tend to have a presence. They tend to carry themselves very, very strongly. So there are times they are misinterpreted or misperceived. So that's also possible as well. Now, bear is one of the few animals that they can walk alongside human beings. Without you even knowing it, you can have bears around you. Now, maybe I may not have bears in my neck of the woods. I have mostly deer and other animals. However, bears, since they are the opportunists that they are, they will track a spot. They will find a spot. And if they find food, they will go for it. So this is part of also the scenario here, that if you go camping, or if you're out in the wilderness, or if you're in a campground or in a cabin of some sort, do not leave your food lying around, because if a bear or a group of bears finds it, it's going to be a bear fest. They're going to have a party, and the cleanup is not so pretty. They're not real good house guests. So something that all of you kind of need to think about. They're not the best house guests in the world. For sure. Now, seeing that bears are incredibly powerful, one of the things that you may mistake in the fact that they seem kind of big and fat, whatever, a lot of that since it's fur, but they really go through a lot of resilience and survival to get from place to place. So this lumbering type bear that you see that's really quiet and unassuming can actually explode with quite the ferocity if provoked if you traipse along his territory. And as I believe Michael said earlier on the broadcast, if you get between a mother bear and her cubs, don't. Just don't go there. Now, also interestingly about bears is in the summer they tend to be a little leaner, and in the winter they tend to gain a little more weight. Why? Because the fat stores, when the few bears that do go into hibernation, they get a little extra plump. They go into hibernation, and they have their fat is their way of fueling their bodies at 8 beats per minute. So that way they will be able to live and sleep with during hibernation. Now, once they come out of hibernation, they come out incredibly strong, incredibly hungry. So you don't want to get in the middle of bear and his food when they come out of hibernation. Now, there is even fact that you have the constellation Ursa. You have Ursa Major, which is the Big Dipper, and the Little Dipper, where that is great she bear. So now, and bear has been incredibly popular throughout the ages. So now the bear is the teacher of medicine. The bear is the speaker for all animals. Now think about this: Jungle Book, Baloo. So even Walt Disney himself thought about the shamanic purpose of bear, because bear is kind of like the speaker or the communicator or the liaison for all animals, and then within nature. So now looking at bear as a healer. Now, bear medicine is very, very healing. Very, very powerful medicine. Many of the times when I'm doing healing work, bear is usually with me at almost every occasion. Bear is there. So that's an interesting little fact as well, because again, bear is the nurturer. Bear is the connector of a lot of different animals in the realm as well. So all of this also makes a difference as well. Now the bear ancestor is an offshoot of the ancient Canidae family of dogs, wolves, foxes, and coyotes. So interestingly enough, they're distant cousins of each other. So it's no different. It's interesting that the wolf is a pathfinder and teacher, and the bear is also a teacher and speaker. Now, Anna's saying, do not leave your trash around. Boy Scout, okay, for example, don't leave your trash around, because the Boy Scouts are trained to hang trash bags up in a tree at night. And there are actual products that you could buy out of canvas that you can seal, like almost zip sealing everything, your food, and hanging it above in a tree, because that way, if they can't smell it, they can't find it. So that's another little fun fact too. Now, from Disney, fun fact from Disney, Baloo was actually a sloth bear. A little fun fact that I didn't know until recently. Now, most bears have 42 teeth, which is about 10 more than usually people have. A bear's canines can reach 1.5 inches. Man, I wish I had a set of those. Like, mine aren't that big, but that'd be so cool. And humans are only about 1/2 inch long. So getting a little love nibble from a bear, not a good idea. So with bear medicine, that might be okay. That might be all right, but just make sure you have permission. That'd be a good idea. Now, polar bears are the largest land predators on Earth, and they stand more than 11 foot high, and they weigh more than 1,700 pounds. Now, looking at the more shamanic stuff about bear. When we look at ourselves and we look at trying to discover ourselves, and this is basically what we're all trying to do in life, whether you know it or not, when we are born and when we come out of the womb, we are in a self-discovery mode. We learn from our parents, and this is where nature and nurture comes in, which I've done a broadcast on nature and nurture. But coming from way back when, we're discovering who we are. It's really a path of self-discovery. What is your footprint? What footprint are you leaving in the world? What are you doing? So wouldn't it make sense that introspection comes into it? Wouldn't it make sense that adaptation would make sense? Wouldn't it make sense that looking at yourself, learning from your challenges, and not repeating them would be important or profound? So it doesn't matter what type of bear it is. All bears have the same characteristics shamanically. So even pandas are actually bears as well. And there are only about 1,000 of them that live in the wild today. So this is why they're so in danger, and why there's large programs to preserve, like the moon bear, like the panda. You know, part of this, I thoroughly believe that we very much are borrowing this planet. We don't own it. So anything that we think we own, like we own the planet, we own its resources, we really don't. We're stewards of this planet. We're given the chance to live on this planet. This planet is just as alive as we are. So being stewards of the planet, us ourselves, as well as every animal, everything has its purpose and has its characteristics and has its life purpose for why it's here and why we're here. So while we're in self-discovery at all this time, we have the ability, if mindful enough, to realize our challenges and to survive past our challenges and to go through all our discovery. There are a lot of cave people and way back when, and tribal people that learned from watching animals. So a lot of the cave people of the day, of back then, they used to worship and hunt bears all at the same time. So not only going back, way back, we're talking cave people, they used to dance and pray to the animals, and one of it was the bear. Now, interestingly enough, natives would also, after hunting an animal, they would thank the spirit of that animal and the species of that animal for allowing them to have fuel and sustenance and be able to feed their village and their tribe. So as much as I am not a vegetarian or a vegan, and I don't judge or criticize anyone that makes any of those choices, I'm an omnivore by choice, but I can say this: I have respect for every single thing I've ever eaten. Every single thing I've ever eaten, ever in my life, I've thanked and been thankful for and grateful for its sacrifice. Now, there's a reverence to this. Now, I didn't kill this bear. This bear was not hunted down. This bear was found. And then they prayed and thanked the bear, and then used all of the bear in different uses. and I ended up with one of its claws. But see, this is the interesting thing about this, is that if we thought a little bit more like bear, we probably wouldn't be as wasteful. Because bears they have to look at every possible situation. They have to look at every possible way because they have to survive. You know? So that's also a big part of it as well. Now, of course, bears are great swimmers too. So, as we said prior too, and they're incredibly able to adapt in any situation. So any bear that becomes too close to a community, they usually have to send them somewhere else, which usually means tranking them and moving them to a completely different territory because they're smart enough to come back if they're not rehomed to a different place. Except when the person, the animal, actually hunts or kills human. And then unfortunately at that point, that animal's euthanized. Because once they get the taste of human flesh, then humans change into food. So that's also part of it as well. So now this is part of where we could really learn so much about bear itself. How to find opportunities, how to adapt to our surroundings. Because now in this day and age, if you really, really think about it, we're at an age now where we have to protect ourselves in our own country, in our own village, in our own hometowns. We have to protect ourselves. There are things we can't even communicate and talk about without there being some kind of negative conversation attached. So looking into bear medicine or learning about bears or bear medicine probably would be really insightful now. Learning about making sure you can still put food on your table. What foods are superfoods, for example? Eating healthier. How can you make different recipes or different meals for your family on a low budget? These are all things that we really need to start thinking about because we really don't know where things are going to turn or how things are going to turn. And especially now with, you only have like 1-2% of people that are incredibly wealthy, and the gap between I say the rich and the po with money and the po without money. It's something where we have to utilize what we have. So reuse, recycle, repurpose, look at new ways, learn from bear, and utilize its adaptability and its resilience to be able to survive. Because bear is one of the few animals that are not in danger. Granted, we have the moon bear, we have some bears that are more endangered, like the panda, but a lot of bears are not, and they're quite prevalent throughout the world. Now, granted, there aren't any bears in Australia and Antarctica, although and even in Africa. However, they have found fossils of bears. So they were probably dinosaurs. They were probably ancestors from way back when. Now, most bears can climb trees and climb trees well. Henceforth, why when you hide your food or you put your food away, you need to cover it really, really well, because they can rip the tree off a tree bark with not even thinking. A lot of times, if you're walking through the forest and you see large, huge gashes in a tree where there's big spots of bark, and it could be up 8-9 feet in the air. That being the case, 9 out of 10, that was a bear just telling you, this is my yard, this is my space. I would suggest you not sticking around. Again, most animals will get vicious because they're territorial, or they're protective of their young, or you're messing with their food or their food source. That usually also makes a difference as well. Now, what can we learn? What can we truly learn about bear? We could learn about going within, really thinking about, what's my real purpose? What's my sacred contract? What am I meant to do here? How can I go through situations easier and better? Rethinking situations that maybe you didn't take ownership of. Whether it be a relationship, whether it be a business decision, whatever it may be. Reflect. And that's what's really the important part about reflection and introspection, is looking back to see, how could I have done that better so it never happens again? This is one of the great things about bears and the hibernation, so to speak. To hibernate is to go within for a moment. Think for a second. Be mindful. Go zen, if you will. Think about what needs to be, what needs to happen for me to go into the next step, the next evolution, the next lifetime, the next step of my life, the next chapter of your book, next chapter of your life story. So these are all things that you could think about, ponder. But also, the interesting thing about bear is that I believe bear will always be here. Just because they have that pulse of the earth. Bear is one of the guardians of the world. Not much different than the whales. Whales are the record keepers of the world. They've seen a lot. They're one of the oldest mammals to inhabit the world as well. But the thing is, we can learn a lot from these creatures, shamanically. Now, to the Celtic warrior, choosing the bear as a personal animal totem allowed them to draw power for safeguarding the clan. Again, protectiveness, right? Mother bear, father bear, she bear, he bear. It's like that parental thing. Energizing themselves for battle, also too. That power, that strength, presence. Also strengthening will and personal vigor to endure the fight. Now, interestingly enough, I will say this. There were a couple of I've done a lot of different types of jobs, and a few of them were heavy labor jobs. One of them was swinging a sledgehammer, an 8-pound sledge, to do demo. I will tell you that I called on bear medicine quite often back then. And I did not survive well. I could barely hold a piece of paper. I couldn't hold a business card. I couldn't hold a pen. Never mind the tiniest little envelope, because my body hurt so much. Now, one of the primary meanings of the bear spirit animal is strength, confidence. It's also taking action. There's also leadership. So anyone with bear medicine, it's not a big surprise that they tend to, even if they're reluctant, they tend to take some form of leadership role. They tend to be more towards alphas than betas. Some reluctant, some because they have to, and others because they're meant to. Now, the soul and spirit of the bear also indicates it's time for healing using your own abilities within the self. And it's the importance of solitude, quiet time. This is why they hibernate, rest, becoming more zen. It's also very grounding too. In a lot of the journeys that I've gone on, bear is usually always there. And that's when I can get a hug. Because that's one of my main totems. So one of them happens to come up and is bear. So that's a whole different scenario. But with bear, a lot of times when I've gone on journeys, bear would be one of the major players in it that gave me most information, taught me the most, gave me the most wisdom, because they sat and thought about it long enough. They just didn't spurt things out real quickly. They would think about things, and then when they said something, it's because it was profound, because it was important, because I needed to listen. Now, some of the symbolic meanings for bear is duality, because also bears and humans are very, very interconnected, as we know. There's peace, there's power involved, also motherhood, sovereignty, resurrection, benevolence. Now, there's also a nurturing and protective quality of bear. So a lot of these abilities, and you think about it, many of us had some kind of stuffed animal, and almost 9 out of 10, it was probably a bear or a rabbit, and more popular, more so, probably a bear. And even to this day, you can go ahead and go to, say, create a bear, or build a bear. It's build a bear, not create a bear. You can go to build a bear. They're not cheap, people, but you can actually custom make a bear for your little ones. They can actually be there, and they actually put in a beating heart. They put in a heart and everything. So if there's anything that I approve as far as the making of an heirloom, I would say bring your child to build a bear. You can choose all different types. They have other things than just bears as well, but I would definitely suggest that'd be a hell of an experience. Be ready to drop about 30, 40 bucks. I think they're around 30 bucks last I checked. And Anna's saying she has a bear that her dad gave her when she was 12, and she still has it. See, there you go. I still have some stuffed animals that when I worked with the homeless, there were a couple of kids that gave me their security animals, their stuffed animals. And I didn't want to accept them, but they offered them to me to protect me. So now that's an interesting thing, how children can actually be more potent and more powerful than adults that we know. Something to think about. So before you dismiss your children, listen to what they have to say. Because honestly, they may know a lot more than we know. They may know a ton more than we know. They're more connected to source than we are. Except if you let your inner child stay prosperous and strong within yourselves, right? Something to think about. Also, too, if you notice, you see a bear stand up, you're going to notice them. You see a bear, you're going to notice them. They have this presence. But if you really, really, truly think about this, they're an animal that is a powerful spirit. They can teach us so many different things. They can give us knowledge and wisdom that we did not see. Now, back when we were more tribal people, we were more connected to these wonderful animals, and we were a lot closer to nature. We have been far removed from nature. A lot of it is ego. A lot of it is deforestation. A lot of it is taking a lot, instead of cohabitating with these beautiful animals, and I'm not just saying bears, I'm saying a lot of other animals. We instead take over, and then we complain that they're in our yard. It was their yard first. So I feel it'd be really, really important to start really thinking about what it means to actually live on this planet in harmony. And I say this not just with the animals of the planet, but also with people as well. People that you may not agree with. It's important that all of us kind of agree. So we can learn a lot from the bear, the speaker of nature, the one that speaks for all the animals. Also, bear is also very prominent in soul retrieval as well. So many times in the shamanic sense, in shamanic wisdom, they believe that a she-bear will be the keeper of our lost fragments, which I should probably do a show on soul retrieval coming up soon. Fascinating. It's a really interesting concept, and it's incredibly powerful. So ultimately, we're gonna summarize a little bit. What are bears all about? They're about going within, about finding home within yourself, about knowing where you're going, how you're feeling, really looking at your instincts, really looking at your intuition, really looking at your purpose, really looking at what makes you you. And then when you truly find that out, that's when you really think about it. That's when you really start to realize that reflection in the mirror is all of you. The good, the shadow, all of it. And that all of those parts make up you. So whether or not you have bear as a totem, you can learn a lot from bear. Bear will teach you when to go in and when to speak up, when to protect and when to hibernate, when to show presence and when to not, and when to be quiet. Also when to hunt and also when to forage. All of these things are really, really important. All these things are so profoundly important in our lives. So yeah, you may not necessarily live shamanically. You may not be a spiritual warrior. But there's a piece of that sacredness within all of us, whether you want to see it or not. We are not that far away. We are not that far away from our animal brethren. We can say we are, we can act like we are, we can feel we are superior. But I will say this. There's a little animal in all of us. Because ultimately, we are animals. Something to think about. Something to really, really, truly look at. So, I hope that this challenged your mind a little bit and gave you some information on what bears are, the reality of bear, as well as the spirit or the sacredness, the shamanic characteristic, the soul of bear medicine. And I hope you can take this knowledge with you and apply it in some way. It's something that living shamanically and living more heart-centered, you'll live a more grounded way. You'll be less likely to be reactive. You'll be less at war. You'll be more at peace. You'll know when to speak up, and you'll know when not to. Bear can teach us many things. So I challenge you to look at the shamanic way of life or live the sacred way or the sacred road. Because honestly, I think we could all learn from it. So to close up the broadcast for today, and I want to thank all of you for being here and spending time with me here on Inside with Moonshadow on our 79th episode. You are all my inspiration, and it's really it's your energy and your juju that keeps me coming here every week, being committed to doing what I do. So I appreciate all of you for being here. All of your inspiration, all of your ideas. And there are people that come up with ideas and topics as well. Hey, Moon, it'd be really great if you talk about this. Oh, I was curious about that. Or there's a charity or a social, a bit of, I feel really drawn to this. So if you have any suggestions, any topics, any kind of ideas, feel free to shoot me a DM. You can reach out to me, message me, send me a comment, and we can go from there. Also, too, if you feel connected and you'd like to support, follow, share my passion and my movement with anyone else, feel free to have people come over, and feel free to subscribe, follow, and connect. You can find all my social media on YouTube, as well as PhoenixRisingHealingArts.com and MoonPhoenixRising.com. Be amazing. Be you. Light and love, and thank you all for being here. Guys, take care.